Where does the name for Penrith come from? So today I'm in Cumbria in the north of England, and this town behind me is called Penrith. Let's get into the name. The name Penrith is almost universally agreed to come from Cumbric, the Brittonic language once spoken across much of northern England and southern Scotland. Whether Cumbric was simply a northern form of Old Welsh, or a closely related Brittonic language in its own right is still debated, mainly because so little of the language survives. It's also worth noting that Cumbric has very little connection to the modern Cumbrian dialect of English. So let's break the name down. The name appears to contain two elements, pen and rith. The first element is fairly straightforward. Pen originally means head, but in place names it often refers to a hill, a summit, an end, or a prominent landscape feature. It could also carry the meaning of something chief or principal. The second element is more uncertain. The traditional explanation is that it comes from rhyd, meaning a ford or a river crossing. This interpretation has been supported by scholars including Aelot Ecval and Diana Whaley. Ecval interpreted Penrith as meaning chief ford, with pen meaning principal. However, one difficulty with this explanation is that the nearest known ford is over a mile away, at modern Emont Bridge. Whaley instead suggests headland of the ford, understanding pen in its more common topographical sense. Alan James broadly agrees that rhyd is probably the best explanation, but suggests the name may have referred not to the ford itself, but to the high ground overlooking it, giving a meaning closer to the hill above the ford. He also raises another interesting possibility, that the second element could come from rhywydd, meaning flowing, perhaps preserving an older Brittonic name for the river Emont. However, he treats this as a possibility rather than the preferred explanation. The earliest recorded form, Penred from 1167, is often seen as evidence for rhyd, as it preserves a final D sound rather than the modern th. And that final sound leads us to one of the biggest mysteries in Cumbric place names. Why do names like Penrith, Penketh, Culgaith, Culcheth and Tulketh all appear to preserve a th sound where their Welsh equivalents would have a D? A recent study by Neil Whaley suggests that the answer is not straightforward. This could represent a genuine sound change within Northern Brittonic, or it may have developed later when these names were adopted into English or Scots. We simply don't have enough evidence to know for certain. So the name may mean something like the Chief Ford or the Hill by the Ford. Anyway, diolch, thank you. Give us a like, give us a share and give us a subscribe, and if you want to support me on my quest to explain every place name in Wales, and a couple outside of it as well sometimes, like today, you can on my Patreon. The link's in my bio. Diolch. Have a good one.